he was a student leader for the Maoists, rather, under the Portuguese Workers' Communist Party. Here he's talking to the cameras down there. Again, then the future EU Commission. We're talking about the revolutionary movement pretty much here in that sense. I mean, look at the symbolism here as well, obviously, of the Communist Party in Portugal. The star again, the five-pointed star that we mentioned, talked about before. The hammer of industrialism or warfare, if you want to look at it that way, and the sickle of Saturn, or of death, Kronos. On the surface, I think we could say that the church, the Roman Church and communism are arch enemies in that sense. It might be ridiculous to claim that these two sides are on the same page, but I say that they're opposames. This is just a different mentality of how to implement the philosophy, pretty much. And even the founder of the International Pan-European Union that we'll look in a minute here, Count Richard Nicholas von Coudenhorff-Kalergi, believed in a more socialist Christian structure, very anti-consumerism. And he's basically behind the roots of the European Union himself. This is the guy right here. This is their symbol. Look at that more later. And according to him, the Pan-European Union, the International Pan-European Union, would encompass and extend a more flexible and competitive Austro-Hungaria, with English serve as the world language spoken by everyone in addition to his native tongue. He predicted that individualism and socialism would learn to cooperate instead of compete, and urged that capitalism and communism cross-fertilize each other, just as the Protestant Reformation had spurred the Catholic Church to regenerate itself. Schilling side note, EWPA, aka also known as the Red House Report. Adam Labor uncovered US military intelligence reports that stated that top Nazis secretly met at the Maison Rogue Hotel in Strasbourg, that's that again, on August 10th, 1944, knowing Germany was on the brink of military defeat, conspired to create a Fourth Reich, a pan-European economic empire based around the European Common Market, a European Common Market. Top Nazi industrialists were ordered by SS Obergruppenführer Dr. Scheid to set up front companies abroad and pose as democrats in order to achieve economic penetration and lay the foundation for the re-emergence of the Nazi Party. Oops. So what's the official version of the European Union? In the ruins after World War II, obviously, the idea is that the European Union emerged as a kind of from the ashes as a natural reaction. This is to prevent further carnage in the world, primarily on the European continent, that suffered the most from the world wars. But the most fundamental misconception about how the European Union came into being stems from the myth that this intellectual genesis emerged after the Second World War. All the essential ideas which lay behind the moves to unite Europe at the time had in fact been conceived in the 1920s, before the rise of Hitler. But officially then the world wars are the excuse, if you will, to create the European Union. Ideas on European unity, we don't have time to go into all of this. This is just to show you that pre-World War II ideas. Some more for you here, 31 leading up to the 40s, a little bit after or during World War II. We simply don't have time to go into that. The founding fathers of the European Union, some of them at least, Count Richard Coudenhorff-Kalergi, as we talked about, Paul Henri Spaak, Robert Schuman, Jean Monnet, Konrad Adenauer, Joseph Beck, Johann Wilhelm Buyen, and De Gasperi as well. Many of these were Roman Catholics, sometimes Jesuit-educated guys. They belonged to Christian Democrats or Christian social people's parties. Again, I'm not saying that that's bad or anything, I'm just pointing that fact out for you. Considering how strange it is with all the mixing of these kind of occult symbols that we've been looking at and these Christians, or so-called Christians, I don't know. Let's look at Kalergi a little bit more here. He's the son of an Austro-Hungarian count, educated at a Jesuit college in Kalksburg, Vienna. And Kalergis was a wealthy Cretan family, comes up again there. Their roots tracing back to the Byzantine royalty via Venetian aristocracy. Oops. Founder of the Pan-European movement, together with Archduke Otto von Habsburg. Joined a Masonic lodge in Vienna in the early 1920s, predicted that individualism and socialism, as we said before, would learn to kind of cooperate. Advocated a revival of Charlemagne's empire. He received the first annual Karls Prize Award, or Charlemagne Award, by the city of Aachen in Germany in 1950. He called for a European single currency 9 years before it even was discussed at the secret Bilderberg meeting in 1955. He proposed Ode to Joy as the anthem of the EU, was implemented 6 years later. And he has an interesting quote here that I want to read to you as well. The man of the future will be of mixed race. Today's races and classes will gradually disappear, owning the vanishing of space, time and prejudice. The Eurasian Negroid race of the future, similar in its appearance to the ancient Egyptians, will replace diversity of people with diversity of individuals. I'm not coming to this from a point of view of racism or preserving races or anything like that, but I'm just saying that it's interesting that he brings up the idea of the Egyptians, that we're going to look at the ancient Egyptians in that sense again. And also the fact that he's advocating a class-free society when at least his foundations, if you will, then are creating this kind of elite class, Euro elites I call them in that sense, that are living like princes off of the EU budget that everyone here, you know, pays for if you're from Europe in that sense. So his ideas might have been they might have been mistaken and implemented in the wrong way. Who knows? But you know, there you have it anyway. Freemason receiving the Karls Prize Award, Charlemagne Award. The flag of the Pan-European Union movement, a red cross on a golden sun, a yellow sun with the 12 stars going around it. There's a lot to say about that, but we don't have too much time. Here it is in black and white, the proposal for the Pan-European idea, 1932, that's the actual signing of those documents. Here's Otto von Habsburg, friend of the Pope, member of former head of the House of Habsburg. He is the international honorary president of the International Pan-European Union today, after Kalergi died back in the 70s, I think. Former member of the European Parliament, Christian Social Union of Bavaria, he was representing. Here's Otto von Habsburg shaking hands with Karl, one of his sons, one of his 7 kids, Karl von Habsburg or Lorraine, initiating him into the Order of Saint Sebastian in or of Europe. Some interesting European emblems for you down there to study. An interesting kind of rainbow priest in the background for that too. Karl Habsburg with his father shaking out the European Parliament. He is the current head of the Austrian branch of the Order of the Golden Fleece, founder and president of the organization Pan-Europe, Austria, elected to the European Parliament via ÖVP, Australian People's Party, head of the House of Habsburg right now. Swedish lady, one of his daughters, Walburga, Archduchess Walburga of Austria. German-Swedish lawyer, politician, joined the Moderate Party in 2006. She worked as an assistant in the European Parliament. She's suspected to have very leading roles in the EU in the future because of her royal connections. She's already successfully pushing proposals in Sweden to always hang the European flag next to the Swedish flag in schools and in parliament buildings and things like that too. Archduke George of Austria, another one of his sons, Otto von Habsburg's sons. He's the president of the Red Cross in Hungary, a knight of the Order of the Golden Fleece, strong supporter of the enlargement of Europe. On May 1st, note that date for all you symbolists out there, 2004, he was chair at the Grand Europe Ball, a black tie charitable gala held at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in New York to celebrate the historic occasion when 8 Central and Eastern European countries joined the EU. So what I'm getting at here is that these boys are working not behind the scenes really, they're on the scene in that sense now. Francis II, the last Holy Roman Empire, of the House of Habsburg, Lorraine, and in that sense they're coming back, right? They're bringing these people back into place. Paul Henry Spaak, we have a lot that we can say about him. Stick to a few points. He's behind the European coal and steel community that laid a foundation for the European Union. In 1956 he authored the Spaak Report, which laid the foundation of the Treaty of Rome the following year. The first building of the European Parliament in Brussels was named after him. In 1957 he received the Charlemagne Award. He's a Bilderberger as well. One of his attaché, as they call it, under Paul Henry Spaak was Etienne Viscount d'Avignon. He's also very prominent in terms of the Bilderbergers, and he's the president of the Bilderberg Steering Committee, president of Egmont Royal Institute for International Relations, president of the Brussels-based think tank Friends of Europe. Baron Robert Rothschild, you probably heard about the Rothschild family. In 1954 he was appointed chief of staff of Paul Henry Spaak, as we mentioned before, at the Belgian Foreign Ministry.